Josh Hart has spoken out about the New York minutes and revealed the truth on playing the most minutes of anybody in the NBA. And we're going to break all this down, discuss all the storylines going into the All-Star break as we are officially over the All-Star break. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. Guys, I'm not going to lie. I got bored and I decided, hey, it's time to go live and talk some New York Knicks action on a nice Thursday night Knicks. Guys, there's no Knicks basketball for a little bit, but there's a lot going on. Knicks fans, some seem a little bit worried. The Knicks are 38, and they have 38 wins this far into the season. And look, guys, it's a little nerve-wracking because there's definitely some problems with the Knicks. For instance, just the sheer lack of defense in the low block is definitely concerning some people. And outside of that, there's just been a lot going on with this team thus far. And frankly, it's definitely a bit of a cause for concern. On top of this, Josh Hart has spoken out with the minutes, talking about Tom Thibodeau's minutes, essentially saying that nobody else is going to care about minutes outside of fans and stuff, saying basketball players want to play heavy minutes. That's the way things are. And I do agree with Josh Hart. I think that he is just always going to be interested in playing heavy minutes. Yo, what up, Carl Knight? Nobody DVD. I was a point guard, so I focus more on Jalen Brunson, but Hart is someone we can't win without. Yeah, I mean, Josh Hart is a player who the Knicks need to play heavy minutes because he just leads to winning basketball. And we're back. The mic is back on. So there we go. Guys, look, I mean, where the Knicks are at this season is very impressive. They're winning a lot of games. They're looking very good. They're just having a lot of success thus far into the season. I mean, third seed in the East is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, I like the way the Knicks are playing this season. I really do. I really trust that they're getting better and better as the season goes on, especially with the return of Mitchell Robinson being something that's very important to this team. I mean, look, the Knicks are not at full strength, and they need Mitchell Robinson clearly. I think that game against the Atlanta Hawks showed how bad the Knicks need Mitchell Robinson because teams just attack Karl-Anthony Towns with zero fear. So getting a guy like Mitch back, who people aren't just going to consistently go at, is going to help the Knicks. It's going to help the perimeter defense because they're going to be less afraid of just sagging off because they understand they can get the ball down to Mitchell Robinson, and Mitch will help things out. And outside of that, they really don't have any of the rim protection. I mean, Precious Achiuwa is definitely a very solid player for the Knicks. He's been one of the better players on the team. But at the same time, he's not the end-all, be-all answer for a backup center because he is still a little undersized at the end of the day. And that is something that the Knicks have to be wary of. Being 36-18, it's pretty clear the Knicks are pretty much stuck at that third seed. It's hard to imagine them getting past the Boston Celtics. They definitely won't be passing the Cavaliers unless the Cavs have a legendary drop-off or the Knicks just go on an insane winning streak. The Pacers probably won't catch up to the Knicks. The Bucks probably won't catch up to the Knicks. So the Knicks are pretty much locked in at a third seed, which is unfortunate. The Celtics, of course, this season happen to be the second seed. Tibbs is going to kill us not beating top teams. I blame the coach. I just think it's part of the not having Mitchell Robinson yet, if we're being honest. I think not having Mitch is clearly hurting this team a ton, especially, as I mentioned, like, Towns just isn't a low-block rim protector. The Knicks don't have one, so it just becomes this very, very difficult situation for the Knicks. Moses Brown could get picked up. Definitely an option for the Knicks, but the Knicks have to wait till March 1st. I think that's the thing that most fans don't really realize is that you got to wait till March 1st. The Knicks can't afford anyone until the prorated veteran minimum salary comes out on March 1st. So the Knicks aren't really going to make any big moves till then. They're really going to hold off for the most part and just continue to do the same thing. They're not picking anyone up. They will play Huck Porty when they need to play him. But outside of that, we're not going to see some crazy, crazy signings or pickups or anything like that. I mean, look, speaking on TJ Warren, do we think we'll sign him? I would imagine it's TJ Warren. I would imagine that's who the Knicks sign. There are a few other names who the Knicks have been linked to, and I will break that down on a video tomorrow. But they both are wings, not bigs. So it would fit that TJ Warren is someone the Knicks are going to look at. The Knicks are not going to sign a big man. I'll tell you that much. The Knicks have no interest in signing another big. They trust Precious and Mitchell Robinson enough, and they think that Mitch is going to come back fully healthy to the point where they're just not feeling like they need to trade for a center. Or, sign a center in the buyout market. So, also, like, who would they even sign at center outside of Moses Brown? Like, yeah, Moses Brown's definitely the best option, but what if the Knicks don't trust that he's their guy? Like, we saw the Pacers pick him up and waive him and go with Thomas Bryant over him. So it becomes this thing of, like, do we really, really believe that, like, that's the guy who's going to solve everything when the Knicks still desperately need more scoring in their front court. Like, I just think off the bench they need more scorers, and Moses Brown isn't that. So that's why they're holding off, especially because Mitch is going to be back soon after the All-Star break. Before March 1st, we will see Mitchell Robinson return to the team. So I try to do anything to make my hair look like less insane. But it's not working, guys. It's not working. The hair looks nuts. It's what we're going to have to live with today, guys. Matt Ryan's got to go. Shamet got to go. Payne's okay. Look, Matt Ryan's on a two-way contract, so there's not much the Knicks have to do with Matt Ryan. They could just sit on him, and they're going to, because he's on that two-way deal. So it's not like the Knicks are waiting on anything right there with Ryan. Ryan's just going to stick around for the rest of the season, basically. There's no need not to. He's on a two-way. He's not really going to play in any consistent minutes ever, especially I don't even think he's allowed to play in the playoffs being on a two-way contract, so he'll just be there. On top of that, we could see... we're not going to see Shamet go either. He's on a guaranteed deal. The Knicks aren't going to waive anyone because they don't have the money to sign someone else. They have one contract available in the prorated veteran minimum come March 1st. So they're not going to sign anyone else. They're just going to sign someone, and it's probably TJ Warren. We could see a few other guys get signed, maybe a Chris Duarte, who I would not like that at all. Potentially Lonnie Walker's an option. There's a few different options here. No more Taj. Yeah, we don't need any more Taj Gibson. Especially because Taj is still on the Hornets. Like, I feel like people forget that Taj Gibson does have a team that he's on. So that would make things a little bit difficult. Just need someone to back up. As a backup, two backups. Taj knows the system. So, yeah, it could be Taj, but except it can't be because he's on the Hornets. So, Taj is not an option. What the Knicks do have as an option is using Ariel Hukporti more or waiting for Mitchell Robinson. That's their option. They don't really have another one. Unless they want to bring up Moses Brown and say, you know what, screw it. We don't need any more help on our wings. They'd have to start playing Pacome Dadier once he gets healthy again. So they'd have to do that or play Kevin McCullough Jr., which does make things kind of difficult. Passing time. Yeah, no, Taj is randomly on the Hornets. We got scores. We need a center wing just in case if we're going to develop Mitch and trade him. I mean, Mitch is developed. He's in season 7. We know what Mitch is, and I do think the Knicks will trade him over the offseason. Don't get me wrong. I imagine Mitchell Robinson's going to get traded very soon into the offseason. Because the Knicks, they need to free up some money, and the easiest way to do that is trading Mitchell Robinson. I got self-conscious about my hair, so the hat came on. But yeah. Look, guys, throw some questions at me. What do we got? We actually have a bench. That's the thing. The bench is just not bad. They just don't get used ever. So it's this weird situation, especially and they don't use the bench. And like no athlete knows what's best for them in the moment of playing. So when you see now I have Taj Gibson's name stuck in my head. When you see Josh Hart, when you see Mikal Bridges, when you see those guys just get on the court and not come off, they're loving it. They don't want to sit. They love playing basketball. As Josh Hart said, he's like, when you're an NBA player, you don't want to come out of the game. You're hanging out with a bunch of your friends. Like, it's fun. So it's not on the players, and we're going to see come the playoffs if this works, if Tom Thibodeau's extensive playing is going to work or if it's not. And there's a lot of thought whether what's going to happen there. I mean, the playoffs, we're going to see an 8-man rotation. There's no way around it. It's going to be an 8-man. It's going to involve Mitch. It's going to involve Deuce, and then probably Precious or Cameron Payne. Maybe it's a 9-man where either Precious or Payne plays like 5 or 6 minutes. Why wasn't Hukporti in the last 4 minutes 2 games ago? It's a good question. I do understand why the Knicks don't play Hukporti, but it doesn't change the fact that it's bothersome that they don't. They don't play Hukporti because the way he defends screens, but like let him get the reps in. Let him learn how to do it, and maybe the Knicks are kind of saying, and Tibbs is kind of saying, no, you can play once you play the way that we want you to, which is fair. That's what coaches do in basketball, and there's not much to blame on Tibbs there because every NBA coach does it, but it's just something that's like, are we serious? Like, we really doing this? I was about to have the biggest crash out ever if the Knicks actually sold the game. Luckily, we have the clutch player of the year in Jalen Brunson. The fact that Brunson's like 5th in odds for clutch player of the year is just absolutely absurd. The man has more clutch shots than basically anyone this season. It's been on a good percentage. Brunson is just so clutch, dude. Like, it never stops with him, it feels like. Good evening. Knicks fans are as dunce as it gets. We're about 500K below the second tier. We must cut a player. Well, we can't cut a player is the thing. Everyone's on guaranteed contracts. We just have to wait till March 1st when the prorated veteran minimum comes in, and then the Knicks are fine. That's really what it is more than anything else. It's just waiting for that prorated veteran minimum to come in, and then there you go. Then you have your option. Bad coaching from Tibbs, not calling timeout. Much minutes. Yeah, I mean, the fact that Tibbs doesn't call those timeouts on bad inbounds is insane. The fact that it took till last game's overtime for him to do it. Tibbs is stubborn. There's no doubt about it. He's a stubborn guy. He wants to do things his way, and it's his way or the highway. But a lot of NBA coaches are like that, unfortunately. Like, the Knicks could fire Tibbs, and then they might get a stubborn coach as well who's just worse than Tibbs. And then what do you do from there? Like, that, it just, like, it's not. So many NBA coaches are stubborn, man. So many. So it becomes this thing of who's even going to be worth it. Like, and also that's the thing about firing Tibbs. Who would the Knicks even hire? Like, I think that's another problem. People just want Tibbs gone and don't care who the replacement coach is. It's not like there's a bunch of great answers. There's one answer. It's Dan Hurley. He's the one answer. You get Dan Hurley from UConn. Like, outside of that, there isn't really a great answer. Brunson, Cat, Precious all get pay raises that will put the Knicks around $20 million over the second tier next year. Yeah, Brunson gets the pay raise. Cat does as well. Precious is a free agent, so it's likely that he doesn't re-sign because the Knicks can't afford him. We're lucky they get some rest, but are we winning? No, they're not winning. They could win the championship, but it would have to take beating Boston, and that's hard to do. It's hard to imagine that. Mark Jackson, Mike Brown. I mean, Mike Brown, I like the idea of Mark Jackson hasn't coached in 10 or so years. If he's not getting coaching jobs, there's a good reason why. I don't really trust that Mark Jackson's the guy here if he hasn't coached in so long. Like, it's just hard to trust that Mark Jackson's the answer in this equation. So I don't trust that option at all. I think Mark Jackson's just a name Knicks fans like to spit out because they wanted him when the Knicks hired Hornacek, and it's been not so many coaches since then, but it's been enough since then that we've passed the time. We've passed that era in life where it's Mark Jackson season. There's a lot of reasons, I think, why people don't want Mark Jackson. The Knicks are fine. I think everything's going to be fine. I'm not really pushing the panic button. I'm more asking the question, should Knicks fans be worried? Because I think some people definitely are worried about minutes. I'm included. I'm worried about the minutes. It doesn't not freak me out. Boston's record is slightly better than ours, but they handle us every time. I think part of that is just the way that I think the Knicks just need Mitch. I think that's going to help a lot. But yeah, Boston's had the Knicks number. I mean, the Knicks could have used OG, obviously, as well that last game. I think that was a huge factor as well because Mikal's not strong enough to guard Jason Tatum. They don't play Huck Porty because his drop-back defense. He's the worst defensive. Yeah, no, he does drop on defense, and he needs to really start icing these screens. That's definitely the thing, and they're not going to play him until he does. And the Knicks want him to be their backup center next season when they trade Mitchell Robinson, so that's very interesting to think about. But yeah, I mean, I understand why Knicks fans are worried, but at the same time, imagine a couple of years ago saying, yeah, we're going to be the 3 seed and we're going to be scared about it. Like, OG pay raise will also count next year. Well, yeah, his contract's going to keep going up, but it's not going to be insane. Like, the Knicks know what they're doing. Remember, Brock Aller is the man at this. Brock Aller's got this. He knows what he's doing with the salary cap. The man's the salary cap goat. He manipulated it completely for the Towns trade. The Knicks knew what they were getting into when they traded for that big Karl Anthony Towns contract, so you got to trust that they understand what's going on. They're trusting in Deuce McBride. They're trusting in another veteran minimum. We could definitely see Hugo Bassan come over, and the Knicks use him in that Cameron Payne role as well. So that depends also on how he plays obviously, in the G League. But Combe.Die's on a cheap contract. The Knicks will start throwing him into the rotation more once he develops more. So they're trusting in some young guys right now. They're definitely trusting in some future pieces, which is definitely going to be a big thing here. So that'll definitely have an impact for sure. Like, the young players who the Knicks have is certainly a big impact on all of this. So we're going to see really how that all goes, which young players are working, which aren't working, and then from there, we will get to see more about the New York Knicks and where they're at. I need some water, guys. I'm talking nonstop. But yeah, look. OG for Jaren Jackson Jr., what do you think? I think the Grizzlies probably laugh in our faces. But the Grizzlies are not trading Jaren Jackson Jr. They're trying to win, and they're good at winning. They're a 3rd seed in the West. Like, they're not really going to try to trade anyone good right now. Like, it just doesn't make a ton of sense. I know the Timberwolves did it, but the Timberwolves have terrible ownership, and they're trying to cut money. I feel like they need to utilize Kolek, Dottier, and Huck Porty, and Jacob Toppin. Toppin's on a 2-way contract, and he has been for a while. I don't believe the Knicks trust in him. We need better perimeter defense, especially from the wing position, because the Knicks are the last in three-pointers being allowed. That's because the Knicks are fearing and sagging off because they don't have rim protection. I think you get rim protection and it solves the perimeter defense, because you have Mikal and OG. Like, you have wing stop. It's just a matter of being able to use them properly with actually useful rim protector more than anything. I really think that's what it is more than anything else. Is the Knicks just need to use their rim protection correctly, and once they get that done, everything else will kind of fall into place pretty well. So I do like the idea of that. I don't really think it's a a perimeter defense thing as much as the way they're playing perimeter defense due to a lack of rim protection. So it's more that, I'd say. Teams, they just go at Karl Anthony Towns with zero fear, and it's clearly problematic. And Towns is not even a bad perimeter defender. Yo, what up, Caden? Thank you, sir. Yeah, I don't know how long we're going to do this live stream. We're going to hang out for a bit, because why not? Look, we are missing the natural scorer like Randall Carmelo. Brunson isn't a prototypical natural scorer and missing a three-point shooter that could quickly cut into deficits. The Knicks could use a complete sharpshooter. They absolutely could. Like, losing out on DiVincenzo and his volume of 40% three-point shooting definitely hurts. But at the same time, you know, we got Towns. The team looks better now. It's just a matter of everything falling into place properly. And part of that, again, a lot of this, I really do think it has to do with Mitch. Like, you just need, and not just like Mitch specifically, just rim protection specifically. The Knicks don't have it. They don't have rim protection. Precious is good. He's a very good player. He's a great defender, but he's not a pure rim protector the way the Knicks need a pure rim protector and rebounder. That's Mitchell Robinson. And the Knicks are waiting on him, and then we'll see what the team looks like, and that'll have a much bigger gauge into the team needs. I mean, Leon Rose is definitely evaluating the team a ton this year. This is not a one-year NBA Finals window. This is a multi-year window for the New York Knicks, and right now they're a new contending team, and Leon Rose is trying to find a way to really build around what the starting lineup is, and Deuce will obviously be there as well, and I think they will start to use Pacome more. I do believe that'll happen. I would guess that on top of that, we paid all this money to get knocked out of the playoffs with this short man rotation. Again, it's just the matter of the Knicks figuring their bench out. They just haven't figured their bench out yet. And, like, I think Pacome will have a huge impact on the Knicks as well. I think he's going to be a huge part of things. So hopefully once they land him, things will help a lot, which I expect them to, honestly. I think Dottier is going to have a big impact on them in 2 years or so once he really gets the feel for the NBA game. Same with Kolek. I mean, Kolek's on a cheap contract. This is the biggest contract in second-round history, but it's still a cheap contract nonetheless. So that does add to something as well, which is important for this team. It is 70,000 degrees in my room. Would you like the Knicks to sign Seth Curry if bought out? I honestly wouldn't mind Seth Curry. I'd rather it be next year because the Knicks need a bigger guy. I'd rather them have a wing or a forward. So I'd like the Knicks to target Seth Curry in the offseason, just sign him to a minimum contract. Like, I think that would be great for the Knicks. You bring in Seth. You have a minimum contract guy who could absolutely light up threes in volume. And the Knicks need three-point shooters in volume. It's just what they need to do because it's just one of their issues. And someone pointed out in the comments on this, like, they're missing out on what they had in DiVincenzo, where it's just 11 threes a night, 5 for 11 from 3. Just will bring you right back, will be a spark plug. Hartenstein is a big loss, and I think the Knicks are hoping that Huck Porty turns into the next Hartenstein. I mean, number 55, German guy, left-handed. The Knicks are hoping that Huck Porty can become the next, Mitchell Robinson, or not next Mitchell Robinson, sorry. The next, what's his face? The next Hartenstein. I was forgetting the name. But it's also important to look at the fact that Huck Porty just dunks all over people. And he just does that to Evan Mobley. I mean, how many guys do you see do this to Evan Mobley? There's clearly something there. The Knicks just have to find a way to use it. I know it was a foul, but that was not a foul. I mean, look at everyone on the bench. That's not a foul. It's just not. Look at them. They all lose their minds. They're like, how? How is that a foul? It's such a soft call. That was a legendary moment. Huck Porty has the same energy as Hartenstein. He definitely does. No, they go for a Towns because he's naturally dropping back for rebounds. Cat's defense is one of the main reasons why we are the worst at defending the threes in the NBA. Yeah, no, it absolutely is because people are not afraid of challenging Towns at the rim, so the Knicks have to give a cushion on the perimeter. It's just what has to happen. It's why Mitchell Robinson is such a big impact on this team. I truly think it's that more than anything else, is the Knicks just need Mitchell Robinson back So their elite perimeter defenders in Josh Hart, in Mikal Bridges, in OG don't have to worry about the paint as much because they know Mitch is down there. They know Towns will drop in there and have a big impact in the paint as well when it comes to rebounding, while Mitch is doing great defense and also grabbing rebounds. I truly think a lot of this will come down to Mitchell Robinson will solve these problems. And that's one of the reasons why the Knicks didn't make too many moves at the trade deadline, is because they knew that Mitchell Robinson would solve a lot of these problems for the team. So that's truly why the Knicks didn't make a ton of moves, and it honestly does make some sense. So I'm excited to see how this thing goes out. It'll be fun to watch. I mean, it'll be a good time. I think the Knicks are going to be better off in the playoffs. The problem is the matchups could be interesting. We could have an interesting matchup, 4-1 the next 5 games after All-Star break. It might be one of those situations where, like, when the Knicks acquired Josh Hart and the trade deadline, when they made the trade for OG and the trade for Derrick Rose, they just went on huge win streaks. I kind of expect it to happen again when they have Mitchell Robinson just come back to the lineup from injury. Like, that's honestly what I see happening, is the Knicks bringing back Mitchell Robinson and just solving a bunch of problems. Like, I truly believe that's what we're going to see more than anything else. So, hopefully that's what we see. The Knicks desperately need it. Right now, the Knicks would play the Pistons in the playoffs. The Knicks would be able to beat the Pistons for sure. Good 3-6 matchup for the Knicks. Somehow they'd need the Magic to beat the Celtics, though, or the Knicks would be in deep trouble, which that would suck. That would just suck, dude. Like, I really, really don't want to see the Celtics in the second round, and it feels like it's inevitable. So that'll be a problem as well. But yeah. Guys, how we doing? How's life? How we all doing? Kolic's a problem. Won a game in the G League and the NBA when he took over for Brunson having a day off. Yeah, no, Kolic's good, and they want to use him. I think he's going to be the real backup point guard of the future. They're going to use Deuce as the backup 2 guard more than a point guard. They like Deuce more as a 2 because Kolic can run an offense in a way that Deuce can't. So I do like Tyler Kolic a ton. I'm a big fan of Kolic's game. So I imagine we'll see Kolic get used. I imagine we'll see a few different guys potentially get used by the Knicks once we just kind of get into next season. I'm curious about what the roster is going to look like next season because I don't think Mitch is going to be there. So it's interesting to see who they'll sign to replace Mitchell Robinson. There's a few different names I imagine they'll look at. I imagine they'll look at Clint Capella and Steven Adams, along with using Huck Porty more and more. I could see them signing Steven Adams and also having Huck Porty and trying to bank on those two, kind of holding down the fort and doing what Mitchell Robinson and Hartenstein were able to do. That would make a lot of sense to me. As well as using Kolic more for the cheap money and then using their veteran minimum, their mid-level exception on some sort of wing or forward to back up Mikal and OG and kind of give more pressure off them. The question is, who's that guy going to be? But that just comes down to free agency. So only one way to check that. Got to go and check the 2025 NBA free agents in the offseason. I like Kevin McCullough Jr.'s defense. I'll bring him up and send Kolic to the G League. Kevin McCullough is on that 2-way deal right now. He's still recovering from that bone bruise that kept him out for a long time. But I expect McCullough to get some minutes as well. He could literally be the backup wing. The Knicks might be real high on this draft, and we'll see about that for sure. So guys who are drafts, let's switch to the forward position. We'll do that. Chris Middleton will accept that player option. Julius Randle might accept his. I actually expect him to accept his player option. Same for John Collins. I mean, the Knicks could look for Bojan Bogdanovic again come free agency. He can't play a lick of defense, but he did give him scoring last time around. Chris Boucher they'll definitely take a look at. Joe Ingles they'll take a look at. Larry Nance Jr. they'll take a look at. If Kelly Oubre Jr. declines his player option, they'll look towards him. Who else could they look at? Maybe Jay Crowder. He'd be on a smaller minimum deal. That would make some sense. Probably not Cam Reddish. Gershon Yabusele most likely will get a look by the Knicks. Kolic's defense must improve by 1,000 for him to be an NBA player. Yeah, I mean, the defense definitely isn't great. Like, there's no doubt about it. But if you have a good defense surrounding them, like Jalen Brunson is a much better defender than Tyler Kolic, but it is going to be, like, solid. I do like Kevin McCullough, though. I'm a fan of Kevin McCullough. I'm interested to see how they use him. He kind of gives me, like, Josh Hart vibes in a way, so that'll be cool to see. I do think Mitch is a big need for this team, but I really hope he doesn't start. We have arguably a top 3 starting lineup as is. No need to change. They would not start Mitch because they're bringing him back slowly. They want Mitch to be healthy by the playoffs, so they're gonna slow work Mitch. They're gonna move him slowly. He's not gonna play back-to-backs. He's just gonna slowly work his way up, getting ready with the team, getting everything going. That's what would more make sense. I mean, I also expect the Knicks to look at Bruce Brown in free agency. I think he's someone they'll go after. Probably not Malik Beasley. Nickeil Alexander-Walker they could take a look at. He's an unrestricted free agent. Seth Curry is definitely someone who interests me. Javonte Green interests me. These guys are all restricted, aren't they? Troy Brown does not interest me. So, there's a few names. Like Javonte Green, for instance. Bruce Brown. Do you think when Mitch comes back, he's going to start over Hart? Because that's Tibbs. No, absolutely not. The Knicks aren't going to change their starting lineup. Again, Mitch is just... He's going to be worked slowly back into things. So, it's just a matter of kind of getting that down, figuring out what makes sense, what rotations make sense now that Mitchell Robinson's involved, stuff like that. So, I don't think we'll see Mitch start at all. Maybe in the playoffs. I could see them moving around the playoff starting lineup depending on matchups and stuff, or just what's working and who's playing well. The Knicks can't sign any of those players. Will be at the apron tier. No, I'm talking about in the offseason, not now. Like guys who they could sign to smaller deals. So, stuff like that. This is not right now. These guys are mostly on teams right now as well. So this is over the offseason as well. Mitchell Robinson, yeah, he's absolutely coming off the bench. Free agent type. All statuses. The buyout market will be interesting as well. Because it comes down to who are the Knicks going to sign. And yeah, you could sign anyone under that $12.8 million threshold. So there's some interesting names for sure. Who's in the buyout market who's in the buyout market that you guys like? How much cap space can the Knicks use? They'll have that mid-level exception, which they'll work some money around so they won't go into the second apron for that. I imagine they'll try to trade Mitch for as much cap space as humanly possible. Just to free up more money so they can be away from the apron when they're signing someone to a mid-level exception. On top of that, they could sign veteran minimums, and that's where I could see some other guys coming into play for the Knicks. But they'll sign a mid-level exception guy is really what they'll go for. So it's really more based off that. I mean, the buyout market, it's kind of quiet right now. We haven't seen too many buyouts. Like, we've seen Mohamed Bamba, Bones Highland, Reggie Jackson, Josh Richardson, Jaden Springer, Daniel Tice, who I believe might have gotten signed. And, yeah, he's signing in Europe. And Christian Wood now has also been bought out, so that's someone who will potentially hit the buyout market as well. Torrey Craig has signed with the Celtics. Ben Simmons on the Clippers, and the Knicks wouldn't have been able to afford him. Alex Len's on the Lakers. Bagley's been bought out. The Knicks can't afford Bojan Bogdanovic. Cam Reddish potentially. PJ Tucker, who's 96 years old. This does mention DeLon Wright as a potential buyout candidate. I don't see that happening. There's, I guess, a world that Chris Boucher. There's the sirens. Hey, man, I live in Manhattan. What are you going to do? Will Tibbs be fired if we don't win a championship? Not this year now, but eventually. I mean, Tibbs and Leanne are good friends, and that does worry me to a degree. But maybe if the Knicks lose in the first round this year, then Tibbs, yeah, he might get fired. But outside of that, as long as they win in the first round, I don't really expect Tibbs to get fired this offseason. Maybe they do. Maybe they fire him. Maybe they decide he's not the guy. But I just find that heavily unlikely as of right now. Especially the Knicks players like Tibbs. So it's tough to fire a guy who your players like because things could get awkward. And by all accounts, these guys do like Tibbs. So it does get weird. The second apron's it's gonna increase to $207.8 million in 2026. So that'll help the Knicks kind of stay away from it, especially if they move Mitch for a couple $1 million. That'll help them move away. Might be able to move him closer to they won't get to the full end. Actually, they might get to the full end of the first apron. Signing anyone would bring them over, but they might get to it with some expiring deals, at least once free agency begins. That also depends on if they trade Mitch and who they would trade Mitch for, though, so it comes down to that as well, which does make for some interesting discourse later on. But yeah, look, I wish the Knicks were able to get Bojan Bogdanovic back. That was a good pickup. I'm interested just in a lot of how the Knicks salary cap situations are going to work. Like, realistically, like, what are they actually going to do? This Towns contract is a lot. This OG contract's a lot. They're going to pay Mikal Bridges soon as well. Things are going to get interesting. Like, we're going to have to see how they work all this money. Would you have signed Simmons as a vet minimum? They couldn't afford Ben Simmons because the CBA sucks. It prevents... I'll talk about why the CBA doesn't suck. But, I would have liked the idea of Ben Simmons, but the Knicks couldn't afford him because they could only sign someone who gets bought out who made $12.8 million or less on their contract. Because they're over the first apron, it kind of hampers them. Also, the CBA does not suck. It's preventing Steve Ballmer and the Clippers from signing literally everyone and just being the Los Angeles Dodgers of basketball. So I don't mind this. It also just prevents super teams. We just didn't really care for a while because we were hardly a team, let alone a super team, and now we're a really good team. Don't fire Tibbs, change his job, defensive coach. I don't think they downgrade Tibbs. Like, that'd just be too weird for everyone involved. The way you can make him a more defensive coach is having Mitchell Robinson. Again, I think so many problems the Knicks have just instantly get solved by Mitchell Robinson. Like, I think he just solves the issues. Like, pretty much instantly, I think Mitchell Robinson just answers all of our problems. I truly do. I think Mitch is the guy here. I think he solves everything. If we trade Mitch, we must take back the same money. Well, not necessarily. If we make less money in the trade, it's fine for us. We just have to find a team that has the money. So we don't have to take back the same amount. It's not a rule. You just can't take in more because of our apron. No, we're not going to be worried. Mitch and OG are coming back. Minutes would be more. That's the thing as well. Like, once Mitch is back, you have a four-man rotation off the bench. You have a nine-man rotation. You have Deuce, you have Payne, you have Mitch, you have Precious. Like, you're good. You're chilling. And Josh Hart, his minutes will go down. I mean, Towns will play more power forward, and that'll take some minutes away from OG and probably Mikal as well. They'll still be really high up in minutes at the end of the season, but it won't be the same when you have a full nine-man rotation working things out. Even if you're thin at the forward position, it's not the end of the world. You could always play Shamet. You could always play Pacome, and eventually I do expect the Knicks to pick up TJ Warren, so you could then play him as well. So there's also that going on that the Knicks can do. They have some options for sure. It's I feel like people are way more afraid the Knicks have, like, nowhere to go from here, like this team right now and who's playing right now. Like, I think a lot of people are afraid that this is just it, and there's nothing the Knicks can do after this point, which is not true. So we do have to keep that in mind. We'll be at 194.4 with 9 players. We must have 15 on a team. Yeah. That's what happens when you pay the starting five the money they're getting paid. But Deuce makes low money, so that's not really a concern. And again, like, they could bring in, like, they have rookies who they're going to use. They're going to use Kolek next year, most likely. They're going to use Huckporty more. They're just going to need to sign one guy to a mid-level exception. Tibbs is a top 5 coach in the NBA. Going to be a little bit of a stretch, but he's definitely a top 10. Any given night, he's a top 5. He's out-coached plenty of people before. Bridges was hot for a few games now. I mean, this is Mikal Bridges, though. He's always been inconsistent. Like, sometimes sometimes things are going really well, and sometimes they're going really bad. The fact that your audience wants Ben Simmons shows how... There's a lot to like about Ben Simmons on a veteran minimum deal, though. Like, you're not, like, paying anything. You're not giving up anything substantial for Ben Simmons. The risk is literally zero. So it's like, you know, I don't think it's really the end of the world if you're signing Ben Simmons, like, to a minimum contract. It's just, it's not going to happen because the Knicks couldn't afford him. And also he's on the Clippers. But that's kind of interesting, Ben Simmons on the Clippers. I'm interested to see how that goes. Knicks are not champion or bust this year. Maybe they are next year or the year after that. Yeah, again, it's a new team. Like, they have these guys under contract for a very long time. So, very likely what we'll see is this team continually get better and better as time goes on. I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm pretty exhausted. I thought I'd be more hype, but I'm struggling right now. The point was veteran minimum, and he's a defensive presence. Yeah, no, exactly. I honestly think you're right to be interested in the idea. It's just the Knicks couldn't afford him because of the salary situation. Oh, guys. Are we going to make it to the finals? I wouldn't bet on it this year. Which team do you think will take us out in the playoffs? Probably the Celtics. We're going to get stuck with them in the second round. It's going to be really annoying. Because, like, we're the two best teams in the East. I truly don't believe in the Cavs as a playoff team. Just they have no defense in their backcourt, and they have no offense in their frontcourt outside of DeAndre Hunter. So it's like, it just makes for, like, a team that feels like it's going to fail in the playoffs, honestly. I truly just don't think it's going to work. Maybe add another solid backup point guard not named Deuce. Well, I think that's just Kolek. I think it's just Kolek waiting. Like, the Campaign is a bridge guy, and then Kolek will come in, and that'll fix things. Not fix things. Cameron Payne's good, but it'll give them a guy who can run an offense for sure, which is going to be super helpful for this team. I like that idea. I like the idea of using Kolek because it just has some minutes. Apen rules. They can't take back more salary than they send out. Teams claim at in 100%. They could do that. If the Knicks are in the first apron, they could take in less money than they give out. They just can't take in more money than they give out. So the Knicks could trade Mitchell Robinson's next season. It'll be $12.9 million for a guy worth $10 million, as long as that team is not in one of the aprons. That's perfectly legal. They just can't take in more money. That's all it is. So it's just a matter of getting that down. So I think that's what they're going to try to do as well, because that makes a ton of sense. Like, you're moving on for Mitchell Robinson, who's an expiring contract. Teams will be more interested, especially if you get a guy in Mitchell Robinson who just had a huge defensive impact on the Knicks. There will be teams that are interested in him, for sure. Like, there's just going to be teams with interest, and that'll have a major, major impact on teams' interest in Mitchell Robinson when he's just playing well. Like, when you have the good version of Mitchell Robinson, when you have that guy who's blocking 2 shots a game, getting 5 offensive rebounds per game, that does get things really going, and teams are going to be like, all right, well, he was healthy. It's only a year left. It's an expiring deal, so the money he makes is kind of in his hands, and if he could stay healthy. What was Dariel's reaction to the 26-8 performance? I have no idea. I haven't spoken to Dariel since then. I don't know. Dariel's not a fan of Precious. I truly don't know why. I think most Knicks fans are. He's not. Makes no sense, but okay. I don't see why shot attempts matter for the literal 5th scoring option on the court, but to each their own. That's really my thought on it. To each their own. We'll probably go till 6:40 or till 7:45, so we got 15 minutes of questions. I get the curtain was created to prevent super teams, but destroys the chance of modern dynasties now. Well, I think that's because it lowers ratings. Like, people are just less interested because dynasties are often created through super teams. And yes, you're not wrong, but at the same time, you could still be a dynasty. Like, we're acting like the Celtics don't have an excellent chance to win the NBA Finals right now. They absolutely do. Then they have 2 in a row. If you win, 3 championships in 5 years, you should be counted as a dynasty in my mind. Like, the Kansas City Chiefs are a dynasty. They won 2 in a row, and also before that, they won, one a year or 2 before their second one or whatever. I'd rather play the Cavs more than Detroit in the playoffs. Detroit has had big wins. Detroit's also beaten us, and they don't like us, which doesn't help. I think the Cavs just won't make it very far. I think if they played the Magic, they could get eliminated in round 1. I think the Magic are a terrible matchup for the Cavs. I think there's a multitude of teams that the Cavs would just lose to. If we were developed the preseason till now, do you think we would beat the Celtics? If we would have developed the bench. Oh, if we would have developed I just can't read. I'm like, what word is missing right now? But no, I'm just losing my mind. If we would have developed the bench preseason until now, do you think we would beat the Celtics? Okay, we're back. Oh, no, we're not back. We're struggling. We are struggling. We are struggling. I hope we're still here. I'm not sure. Let me check that because my thing cut out. I'm trying to figure it out, gang. Oh, yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good. We're so fine. We're so fine. Okay, good news. We're back. All right. Let me get to these comments real quick. I do think that the Knicks would have fared better against the Celtics had they just had their full roster available, which they haven't once when playing the Celtics. I think that's a huge issue that no one's really taking a big look at or really going crazy at, which they should. Because it just is a big part of things, if we're being honest. Like, it's certainly been a big thing. Do we think this is the first 4 years of Brunson's extension, or is it the first of 5? Brunson's another contract till 2029. So 2025, 26, 26, 27, 28, 20, 27, 28, 28, 29. So he's got 4 more years after this year. It's the first of 5 years. Come on, Aaron, just hold out for 9 more minutes. I know, right? Literally, dude. I was like 7:45. I'm like, well, I'll make it till then. But honestly, I have a Wi-Fi, one of those Wi-Fi extenders, and in like my bedroom where I film these videos, and my router's outside, so I just had to like pick up one of those, and I was connected to the wrong Wi-Fi. That's what some of the issue was. But we're back now. We're good. We're back. I taught you guys about my Wi-Fi, which is fun. We're not even making the Eastern Conference Finals. You people think that Ben Simmons is an answer. We can't even afford him. Why won't you bring up Tibbs? Okay. Easy. I said that the Knicks can't afford Ben Simmons. I said that Ben Simmons is a no-risk, high enough reward guy for a team that can afford him. And Tibbs has had a lack of playoff success, usually in the LeBron James era or the era of tremendous teams of a Western Conference dominated by the Houston Rockets and really the Golden State Warriors. Yeah, his teams have not really succeeded in the playoffs that often. He kept running into LeBron. Or Derrick Rose kept getting injured. Or they played a Houston Rockets team that wasn't losing ever until literally the playoffs. Like, there's a lot of reasons. There's a 5-year championship window. That's why this year is not do or die. It's just develop this roster more than anything else. The Knicks just need to figure out this roster right now and develop it properly. And once they do that, things are going to be... I think this is the worst this core will look. Maybe year 5, if they're more washed up or something by then. But I think next year, the year after that, they're going to look very, very good because they're going to have, first of all, an increasing salary cap. And they're also just going to have things work. I've never seen his team get so much criticism. Oh, no, the Knicks get insane amounts of criticism. Because, like, it's people like to hate on the Knicks, but as well as it's Knicks fans, and we've just seen so much terror that everyone expects everything to be going badly at all points. At the same time, again, if you told us anyone was complaining as a 3 seed in the Eastern Conference at the All-Star break a couple of years back, we'd all be like, shut up, we're happy, we're a 3 seed, things are good, which is fair. So that's kind of where things are at right now. I'm not that worried in the long run. This season specifically, I'm kind of bothered. There is a 10-year period we don't even want to be a Knick. No one talks about the Knicks. Tibbs is a part of why they're relevant. Absolutely, he's part of why they're relevant. Have we had bad losses? Yes. Do we suck against good teams? Yes. Have people forgotten that this is the first year of 4? Absolutely. Bro, you're using LeBron as an excuse for Tibbs. When did LeBron lose in the playoffs in the East? When did he not make the NBA Finals by the time that Tibbs was a head coach? Tibbs became a head coach for the Chicago Bulls in 2012. LeBron was in the East until 2018 when the year Tibbs was fired. Which one of those years did LeBron not just walk to the NBA Finals? Just let me know. Please just let me know. How many games do we win total? How many games are left? We're 36 and 18, so that's, first of all, exactly 2 to 1. So that's cool. But at the same time, 36 and 18 means, what's that math? I'm not good at math. 46 plus 8 is, someone help me out, 54. 54 minus 82 is what, 28 games? Is it 28? Tibbs wasn't the coach in 2011. Or was that the year Rose won MVP? Oh, yeah, 2011 as well, when LeBron walked to the conference finals. Yeah, 19-9 makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering about this 40-20 rule. Can the Knicks get there? 36-18. The 40-20 rule of you're a true contender if you win 40 games before you lose 20. The Knicks can only drop one more game, and they'd have to win 4. They'd have to go 4-1 at best if they want to be viewed as a true contender. So that's interesting. Very cool to think about. I think they can do it. Let's take a look at the Knicks schedule. We'll base it off that. Wow, if you guys could just see the way I spelled schedule, it's hard to even say. All right, they play the Bulls, who are absolutely awful. They play the Cavs and the Celtics. Ooh, that's what it comes down to. Can they beat both the Cavs and the Celtics? Possible All-Star break rest. Yeah, the rest will help. Having Mitchell Robinson potentially will help. Dude, this Knicks-Cavs game is going to be exciting. Then they got Celtics, 1 p.m. I imagine that's on a Sunday. That'll be interesting as well. Both away games, not going to be easy at all. Then they play Philly, who will be motivated, and they're not the worst team. They're just not very good. And then the Grizzlies, they got a tough road to get to 40-19. Tibbs has had an MVP player, ran his player into the ground like he's doing now. Tibbs did not run Derrick Rose into the ground. That's not... Yes, Derrick Rose got injured because Tibbs had him playing at the wrong time. That's no debate. But there's no way you just constantly tear your ACLs and stuff like that and meniscuses without just having bad genetics, if we're being honest. Yeah, Tibbs just... It's not just Derrick Rose. No, it's also Tibbs shouldn't have had him in. But we can't blame Derrick Rose's poor genetics on knee injuries or on Tom Thibodeau. On Tom Thibodeau. Yeah, like, they'd have to win the back-to-back, which would be cool. 19-9 they could do. 19-9 they could definitely do. I'd be very interested in seeing about that. Yeah, I'd be happy if they don't have 30 losses, really. If they can get to 50 wins, that'd be sick. It'd be really cool. I'd love to see the Knicks get to 50 wins, even though they could obviously be 50-32. But I think 50 wins is a good benchmark for this team to see a lot about them and understand a lot. But it also comes down to health and all that stuff. You never know who's going to get some nagging injury. It's going to make him miss 2 weeks or something like that. So it's just something really rough. Also, the fact of Tibbs never having an MVP player does not change the fact that LeBron James and the best supporting casts a star had at that time for at least the first half of that before, the Super Warriors. Of course, what were the Bulls supposed to do? They're just much worse. It's not Tibbs' fault that the team was much worse because the other team had LeBron with a big three for, the entire time. I'm expecting the Knicks defense to be night and day with Mitch coming off the bench. Yeah, that's just the thing. It's like literally OG and Mikal have to sag off defenders so they can play defense. Do you think starters should speak up on their minutes? Well, that's how this live stream started. As Josh Hart said, when you're a basketball player, you want to never sit out. He told that to Malika Andrews. He's like, no, I want to play. This is fun. I want to play all the minutes. And I don't mind if players play 40-plus minutes in the playoffs. That does not bother me at all. It bothers me in the regular season, but it doesn't really bother me in the playoffs at all. Do your thing. Play these guys. So I don't really think the starters should speak up on it. If they have a problem with it and want to play less, I think they should go to Tibbs. So he didn't run his player into the ground by playing him into the wrong situations. No, I'm saying that Derrick Rose probably would have had an absolute load of knee injuries, whether or not he got played with 1:43 left against the Philadelphia 76ers in one game. It wasn't... Rose went up and his knee exploded. It means he probably has bad genetics on top of that. You can't just blame it on Tom Thibodeau. He didn't step on a foot. He just went up and missed. And then he continually had repeated knee injuries after missing an entire season of action. Like, it's not like Tibbs rushed him back. The Stars now have a problem with it and don't speak out. The reason I speak on it is just because it worries me. Like, I think it's fair to worry people that Tibbs is playing these guys high minutes. Like, I think that's really the big thing here more than anything else is we should just be kind of conscious about the heavy minutes and honestly just kind of worry about it, but maybe it's nothing. We're not going to know if the minutes thing is a problem until we see them in the playoffs. That's the real thing here. So maybe Mitch comes back, minutes go down, everything's fine. The very likely possibility here that the minutes go down in a 9-man rotation. Knicks are going to get it together. Absolutely. I too trust they're going to get it together. Again, as mentioned by Yuri, that it's probably going to be night or day once Mitch comes back. It's just going to change everything for them. And I think truly it's hard to imagine that Tibbs is going to keep an 8-man rotation when Mitch comes back. I don't think he's just going to bump someone from the rotation. I think he's just going to add the spot and take less minutes away. Also, Tibbs hears the criticism. Like, it's not lost on him that people think he plays guys heavy minutes. Worry, I agree with. Do you think the Knicks will fire Tibbs if they don't succeed? I don't think he's on the hot seat by any means. I just think it's likely that he won't finish this contract with the Knicks. Kobe played high minutes. Jordan played high minutes. Absolutely. No, they absolutely have. But also, the both of them, their like knees and primes were kind of over by age, 36-ish? Do you think starters are scared of Tibbs? Not at all. They like playing the heavy minutes. I can see OG not loving it as much. Every star player that Tibbs has had, he's run to the ground. Karl Anthony Towns, Andrew Wiggins, Jimmy Butler, none of them got ran into the ground. Literally none of them. Julius Randle did not get ran into the ground. He got ran into Jaime Jaquez, and that's really what happened there. Yes, he probably ran Julius into the ground in the first season. That's true. The Knicks were terrible. They were just bad that first season. This year they made the playoffs that year. He definitely ran Julius into the ground. He exhausted Julius. That's very true. But also the Knicks sucked whenever Julius was off the court. He also ran Derrick Rose into the ground in that series because Derrick Rose was the only guy who could run an offense, and the Knicks were losing. He did what he had to do to make the playoffs, and that was kind of an anomaly year because no one else really got burnt out by Tibbs. It was just Derrick Rose got played a lot, and that wasn't the full reason for his injury. He just shouldn't have been playing when he got injured. On top of that, yes, he ran Julius into the ground 100%. OG would have a problem with it due to the... Exactly. Like, OG might care a little bit. Also, OG's got a very low tolerance for pain, which is another part of things that's just kind of random. He doesn't look like he'd have a low pain tolerance, but he does. He hates playing injured and stuff like that. He wants to be 100% healthy if he's going to play, or his brain is going to fixate on that injury the entire time, which is something he has to get over. Doesn't seem like a perfect mix for a Tom Thibodeau type coached player. Even though he's a Tibbs player for sure, you could see. Shoulder injury. Yeah. Julius. But yeah. This was fun. Julius had no issue with being run to the ground because it made him an all-star. Also, yeah, like it's that, and also the Knicks just would have lost games had they not played Julius Randle 37 minutes per game. Like, none of that happens. The all-star, the contract extension, the playoffs, none of that happens. None of it if Julius didn't get played those heavy minutes. The Knicks would have absolutely not been... They were not a good team. They had a good player who carried them because he played more minutes than everyone else. That's what happened in 2021. And making the playoffs because you used your one weapon, it's not really something you could criticize that much. There was no way to rest Julius more for the Knicks to be good. Yeah, that's true. Josh Hart just shut up about his knee real quick. That was definitely, like, worrisome. I did a video on that, and I was like, oh, this could actually be a real problem. Do you think the NBA is soft now compared to the 80s and up? I think it's more regulated. Like, I don't think guys should be able to toss people around and stuff, but I also think it's a little too dainty. Like fouls are a little too light now. I like the fouls if you're not giving people landing room, personally. I do like the landing room fouls. I know it can be manipulated a little bit, but at the same time, I think it's important to prevent, like, rolled ankles and stuff because you want to see your players healthy. The Knicks actually, yeah, they did. They had Julius Randle. That was it. They had Julius and they had Mitch sometimes. Like, yeah, Rose was good. Fine role player. Nerlens Noel, fine role player. Reggie Bullock, fine role player. RJ Barrett, fine role player. But, like, they had one guy who was great, and they didn't have much else going for them. So it was awesome that Julius was able to do what he did. Very pro-Julius, for sure. Pro-Julius always. We love Julius. I do think the NBA got a little too soft, though. I think there should be more contact involved. It's a contact sport. I just think the landing rule foul should stay. But you should actually, like, if... I also just hate how many people complain to the refs all the time. Like, you look so stupid. Oh, my God. Elfrid Payton, dude. Dude, he's on the Hornets now. Elfrid Payton and Taj Gibson reunited. Yet they all lost. Do you even hear yourself? It's either LeBron's fault or it's Tibbs. Take your pick. Stop blaming others. I've been a Knicks fan since 1980. Have some accountability. Oh, shoot. You're old? Oh, no, you're old. That's why. Like, who cares if you're old? So what? You're not even old. 1980's not old. I'm just messing around, so. Yeah, they all lost because they were the worst team, Tibbs or not. Tibbs, no matter what you want to say, the teams that he played against LeBron were worse. And then it's either LeBron's fault or it's Tibbs. In that case, it's LeBron's fault. LeBron had the Cavs and the Heat that were great. They were fully built around him the way that he wanted, and it made sense and it worked. Also, yeah, Elfrid Payton, the forbidden one. Mikal's the punching bag of the Knicks. Yeah, Mikal gets a lot of crap. I know he's up and down, but that's the Mikal Bridges experience. I don't think people realize that coming into how up and down Mikal Bridges is. Recently, I feel like they're letting more contact happen. Defense seems more fun now. Yeah, no, there's a little more contact for sure, and that's better for basketball. What do you want to do? Just have no contact? Who wants to see a bunch of free throws, man? That's the problem. Who wants to see a bunch of free throws? That's really it more than anything else. Like, every time he either does good, it seems like every Knicks fan has him in their sights. Like, we're really going to bully Mikal. I think Mikal can handle it. I just think people are so on it because they hate, like, the Nets fans being like, haha, you trade us 5 picks. It's just Nets fans getting in Knicks fans' heads and also Knicks fans getting in their own heads because it's like, we did trade 5 picks for him, and that's definitely concerning because there were a bunch of other guys who they could have waited a little bit before they made that Mikal trade. It made sense at the time, and even now, like, we're in year 1 of this experiment. Mikal does fit this team perfectly. There's no way around that. He's a perfect fit for the team. It's just a matter of getting things down with him. Like, and Towns helps the shooting thing as well, because trading Mikal and losing Devo definitely hurt the shooting, but having Towns, they're such an elite three-point shooter, helps. I'm obviously, hello, Senor Montserrat. I'll be honest, I really, what do you think of the 149-148 win? I think it should not have been that close, and I don't love the Knicks' performance in it, but Jalen Brunson is the man. I would have loved to see how the 4-Nova Knicks would have worked. I am curious. It would have been a small ball lineup. How is it possible we can allow 148 points? The crazy thing is the lack of threes on the Hawks' point as well. Teams just have no fear going right at Karl Anthony Towns, and that's just problematic. We'll go till 8 now, just because why not? But yeah, guys. I think the Knicks just desperately need Mitchell Robinson back. My main observation is we don't. We do not have rebounding outside of Cat. I mean, Josh Hart for sure, but it's just them. Precious' rebounding could be better and should be a little bit better. I know his minutes aren't always great. That's about it. Tibbs is so stubborn and not playing the bench, specifically the rookies. Well, I mean, Tyler Kolek is a guard like Deuce and like Cameron Payne, so it makes it tough to find Kolek minutes. Pacome is also injured. The fact that Huck Porty's not playing more is absolutely nuts to me. I think that's completely insane. I get it. Like, he doesn't defend the right way the Knicks want him to, but it's like Huck Porty needs these reps so he could be better later on. Can we beat teams with the refs against us? Probably. Yeah, I agree, Yuri. If we lost that game, I would have been so upset. Like, that was going to suck so... It felt like we were going to for a bit as well. Like, that just would have sucked. I mean, imagine if that went... Imagine if that Niang shot went in, how much that would have sucked. It would have been awful. It would have hurt so bad. Like, truly would have been a terrible, terrible loss for the Knicks. We're so lucky we had... Yeah, no, it's so nice to just have a guy who's just endless. Like, endlessly good, just does not miss shots. Like, that's truly one of the best things ever. Not make it score close games 1v1 versus Dyson. No, absolutely not. Mitch's foul print just like hat. We still need Moses Brown as a good scorer. Remember the 30-20 game? Absolutely, I do. Game was sick. Mitch will never do that. G League, and he still plays defense. I mean, Mitch was foul prone a lot earlier on in his career. He's definitely gotten a lot better. Like, he's gotten the fouls under control a lot. I've seen the game of... First of all, I'm joking. You're not that old. You're not... it's 22. Yeah, 45. That's not bad. You're not old. You're halfway there. It's not old. It only means I'm more knowledgeable than you youngsters. All right, saying youngsters doesn't help your case. Again, I'm playing. I've seen the game evolve. New Tibbs doesn't recognize this in 2025. It's not 1925. No, look, what I'm saying is Tom Thibodeau is not a bad coach, and to say he ran Derrick Rose into the ground is just kind of an incorrect indictment on Tibbs. Like, it's just, that wasn't the end-all, be-all, that one moment for Derrick Rose. ACL tears, like, it just, there's a lot that goes into knee situations with getting injured. Like, knee injuries and stuff are weird because a lot of them have a lot of genetic effect. Like, the way that your knees are structured and things just naturally will have an effect on your likelihood to get injured. I'm actually happy they play these minutes because when playoffs come, they're going to be better off in condition. That's the hope, or they're going to be more fatigued and burnt out because of the minutes. That's the fear. You have to go both. You have to look at this one of the ways or another. I mean, yeah, a huge part of this is the Knicks don't really ever practice. Like, they just do not practice. It's not something they do. They do shoot-arounds and stuff, but they don't do, like, hard practices because, like, they get a ton of rest. And Josh Hart has even said that he's never gotten as much rest than under, like, any other coach when it's been, like, Tibbs, who just rests them all the time. And he plays them heavy minutes in the games. And, I mean, I hope that's the case, that their practices are light, and especially by the end of the year, really, really light, so they could be as best off, like, helped out. Like, and not be completely, like, fried by the end of it. So the era of the bad boy Knicks was better than what Tibbs. Payne and Shamet needed to get bought out. I don't think that would ever happen. Shamet, I don't think would be bought out. Because you have to agree to a buyout. But in all seriousness, I just don't expect Shamet to get bought out. The Patch Garrett. Sometimes there's a superstar that just shuts teams down. That's very true. It's not Patrick Ewing's fault that Michael Jordan existed. What up, Mournful Nets fan? Mournful Nets fan gets in here 3 minutes before we go and turn it off. What's the troll today gonna be? What's the joke? Waiting on it, sir. Can't wait till my Nets are good again. And one day, you have to imagine they'll be good. So if Tibbs is fired, yes, absolutely. Dan Hurley is who I think will be the next coach of the Knicks eventually after Tibbs. Hurley and Tibbs' contracts align by like a 1-year difference. I definitely think Hartenstein's the guy. When we used to be good, the Knicks used to be ass. Yeah, we're rarely good at the same time. Mostly because usually neither of our teams are good. Like, let's be real, Mournful Nets fan. Usually both of our teams are at the bottom. So, I remember I used to go to Nets games in 2018 in high school, and like with my friends, they were like $8, and it was fun. And like they were bad, but it was still fun anyway. And the same thing, like the Knicks were bad, but it was $10,000 to get to the games. What's Tibbs' contract? Well, he got signed to an extension this offseason for an extra 4 years or so. So I think he's got 4 years left on his deal, maybe 5. I don't think he's going to finish that deal, though. Once he's in his 70s, I think they'll move him up to, like, some, like, advisory role so they could bring in, like, a younger, more modern coach. I've never seen talent from rookies I see on the Knicks bench become Kolick, Hekporty. I think McCullough just, he needs time to get healthy, though I love him. I like Hekporty a lot, and he should be playing more. Bacomb's injured. Kolick's injured. Check Shams. Yeah, front office is in, like, some advisory role just to get rid of him. Mournful Nets fan, you don't want to get muted, do you? All right, guys. Last minute of this. You should have shown up a lot earlier, Mournful Nets fan. I've seen you come back to the channel, though. You were away for a while. No New York fans care about the New Jersey Nets. Yeah, they're not even, like, a team. Like, I went to a Nets game recently, and I was shocked that there were people there. And there wasn't even a lot. There was plenty of empty seats. It was pretty hilarious. But they had, like, fans. Like, 1 or 2 people were actually in Nets gear. That was crazy. Like, to actually see someone in Nets gear. Good for them. Cool that they actually have fans. But, guys, we're going to wrap this thing up. I have stuff to do, as in I need to go eat food at some point today. So, yeah, guys, I will catch you on the next live stream. I want to do this one because I'm not doing one tomorrow. I won't be around. But I will see you guys over the weekend with plenty of